Howdy guys, welcome back. I know it's been a while since we did a video, but I want to do one just because, we were working on this compounds, which, whatever, I'll show you here in a bit, but um, one thing I hate is when I'm watching a video series or going through a thread of somebody that's building something and, it's cut off halfway and doesn't look like they finished, when they probably did finish, just they decided to stop documenting it. So, I kind of have fallen victim to that, but just in a mediocre attempt to redeem myself, I want to shoot this video and kind of show you guys what we got going on, as well as possibly two other videos. I'm really hoping to do the two other videos. They're going to be mediocre as well. They're not going to be insanely, professional or anything, but there's going to be this one showing you what we got on the ground, just all the parts. The second one, putting them in the truck, so maybe everything makes a little more sense, as well as third one, driving the truck. What are my thoughts? I think it'll be pretty fun. That being said, I did test these guys out on the truck, fitment wise, make sure everything was good. What was it, a couple days ago? So we should be fine. I do have a picture of that I can post up for you, but let's just get to it. We'll see what we got going.
So here are our parts. Now, some of these you may recognize, some of these you probably don't. But some of you, of course, will be, why are you sitting on the concrete? Others of you will be like, heck yeah, dude, you upgraded to concrete. And I'm to you, those few. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you for sticking with the sauce. So, let's get down to brass tacks. To start us off, we got an HX35. This one has the quick spool turbine housing on it. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, basically, it's just a turbine housing, a stock 12 centimeter HX35 turbine housing that has a lever built into it. So that when you open it, it acts as normal. But when you close it, it shoves all the exhaust into one side, effectively changing the AR of the housing from like a 12 to a 6, which helps with spool up, but that'd be really restrictive. So you open her up and it acts as normal. And so we were originally going to run wastegate in the 1-inch spacer that we were going to use to space this out from the manifold. We were going to run our wastegate there, but I decided that this thing housing has a really big internal gate. I want to say it's in around the 30 millimeter port range. You can see that's my finger in there, so it's quite sizable. I feel like that'll be adequate. So we decided to run a undivided 1-inch spacer. What that allows it to do is that way when this is open, there's cross flow. So like the reason for running a divided housing is for a faster responding low end. Well, our low end is going to be done with the quick spool valve. So the moment this opens, you really want as much cross flow as possible, which a 1-inch spacer that's undivided should do pretty good at doing that. Now, like we said, this guy's wastegate is pretty big, so to hold that shut, because the stock actuator would have absolutely zero chance, we have our old actuator we made years ago. I did end up cleaning it up a little bit, gave it a quick paint job. Should be pretty adequate for the job. It should look pretty good sticking out from the side of that HX35. Also on this guy, so we got our wastegate mount, we've got our QSV lever, our QSV air cylinder mounts to the primary's turbine flange mount, so it's like mounts to the hot pipe basically, so nothing special there. But what we did on this oil drain is because we're flipping the manifold and spacing it out a bit, it's got to be considerably longer. So we cut the stock tube off the oil drain and then took a piece of brake line, kind of got our general shape, and then took some black pipe. This is I think 1/2-inch black pipe from Home Depot, and just bent it to our shape, put it on, and we actually got really close to what, I mean, it looks really good. Like the angles just all match up, the height is pretty good, pretty happy with that. So that's where the HX35 sits right now. That is our secondary. Next off, we got the primary. Nothing really super exciting about this. It's a GT4202 with the 1.15 housing on it. It is wastegated though. Generally you don't want to open the wastegate unless you have too much boost. Basically, that thing is way happier making high pressure than the stock HX35, so you want to have it do as much of the work as possible. Next we have the primary mount. This kind of goes on to the manifold. You probably may recognize this, though it did take a little bit of modification because we're rocking a 3-piece now, and because the 3-piece doesn't have the spacers, it's got to mount closer, so I had to extend this guy out a little bit. It's also got our oil drain built into it, which you can kind of see. It's just 1/2-inch threaded hole. Ended up tapping a little deep so that the pipe ended up sticking through, so I just took it and grounded down flat, so it should be fine there. It's you may recognize building this. I did have this guy coming straight down. Then when I test fitted him, I realized I'd be a little close to the motor mount with it, so I ended up kinking it over a little bit, which kind of shoved it down towards the pan a little bit, and that ended up working really, really good. I'm pretty happy with that. You guys remember the hot pipe? Building that, you may or may not notice, but we did cut down the flanges a little bit just because it was really big and really square. We kind of prettied it up a little bit, and because the three-piece manifold has these ribs right here, you can see I had to cut down that one there a little bit. Just kind of went like that with it. I did grind this guy a little bit too, just to try to get as much clearance with that as possible, so I didn't have to take off too much off the three-piece manifold. That went up pretty well. This is just a normal piece of 45 3-inch. Why is it here? Because that's gonna be our CAC pipe. We just got a bead roll, some beads on it on the ends. That's gonna be pretty easy. That will give me a boot up at the turbine, up at the compressor, and another boot down by the intercooler. Someday, if I have any problems whatsoever, I may go to a V-band at the top, because right now I'm using the stock 90 aluminum elbow that comes off the HX35, which, you know, that guy right there, I'm still using him. But if I have any problems with it, what I'll do is I'll get a flange for this guy and just make it all one big steel unit that V-bands to the compressor, and then goes all the way down to the intercooler and uses a boot there. I'll probably go up to 3-inch or 3.5-inch with the pipe. That way it's just a straight 3.5-inch boot. I shouldn't have any problems, I don't think. So, especially with the V-band clamp on the end of that guy. Moving on, this is our part of our intake. The other part of the intake is actually on the truck right now for reasons. So I can't weld them up right now, but all it's going to be is just going to be a boot coming off the compressor, kind of like a 90 coming up and towards the passenger side a little bit, and so that'll bring it in the up direction. So like if you're in the front of the truck, it's going to come like this, and this guy is going to take it and kind of bring it towards just kind of level it out, and then it's going to point it basically straight at the passenger side headlight. It'll make more sense once it's in the truck. You guys may recognize this guy. This is our cold pipe, or I'm not the cold pipe, the interstage pipe. We ended up getting that head all figured out, kind of welded up. Not necessarily pretty, but let's weld it up anyway. Yeah, that flange that we made. I don't know if you guys, I don't remember if I put that in a video, if that was kind of unseen footage, but that was a flange I made on the wood lathe. It does have an O-ring groove. It's going to have an O-ring. I won't do it again, but it worked out pretty good. Next we have 3-piece manifold. Nothing really fancy there. We're going to port it out. Just smooth out the ports a little bit. You can see the grinding I had to do there to get it to work. We got the actuator. What we got is a spring that's going to hold the QSV shut, so that way when there's no boost, it's shut, so it tries to spool it, but once we hit a certain amount of boost, then the actuator is going to be able to push it open, and that way, like if you're going on the highway, theoretically, we'll have it tuned to about where, once you're going down the highway, it doesn't cause, it keeps it open, better fuel mileage, less restrictive. But when you're trying to spool it from every shift, it should have to be shut, theoretically, building boost faster. Anyway, then we have our oil lines. Now I want to cheap out on these a little bit because this is one of the more expensive parts of the build. So I figured I could use, this is a 3rd gen, I believe, oil line setup. So that guy goes to the stock turbo feed on the oil filter housing, and this guy's normally bent at like a bit of an angle, so like it'd be like straight down right now, so it's like it bent down like that. But we just heat it up and straighten it out a bit, so that's pretty good there. That goes to a O-ring sealed fitting that goes on top of the compressor housing. Not too tricky there. And then this is the stock turbo feed line. That one feeds this primary, by the way. This one feeds a secondary, the HX35. This is the stock HX35 feed line. But we did make our own special fitting there because this one goes in the 1/8 inch NPT port. It says like the port's kind of at an angle. Not that severe, but something like that. Instead of being straight up, going straight up. Instead of being straight up, it's kind of like that. And so that would shoot the oil line at the what do you call it? Interstage pipe. So we made a elbow there that kind of offsets it so it's straight. It also brings it up a bit because this guy would be too short, which is why you have to get rid of him. So basically, it extends the line and puts it at the right angle to where it, shoots it in the right direction. So all the Gucci sauce there. Downpipe wise, this is a 3rd gen downpipe. We're gonna end up using it. I think it's 4-inch, and then we're gonna put an elbow on it and then a flange. Anyway, so anything else in that bucket that we care about? That's just like the random boots and stuff I'm gonna need. I am still in need of a 4-inch boot for this guy to replace this water hose or whatever that is. Big truck, something. Heater hose, whatever that is. That's not heater. I don't. Anyway, but I ordered it, but it came today and they shipped me the wrong one. They sent me a 45, actually a 4-inch 90 boot. I just wanted a 4-inch straight boot. So theoretically, I got upscaled because of course that's gonna be more expensive. However, I just wanted the straight boot. So kind of a negative, but you know what? Make and do with what you got. So I'm gonna message him and tell him that they sent me the wrong one. I really like it. I was hoping to put the compounds on. Theoretically, this thing could be used, for the first bit. I don't know if it would actually last or not. That'd be a really good question. But regardless, whatever. So yeah, I think that basically covers the whole setup. A lot of this may not make sense. Kind of sped through it a little bit, but I think it'll be pretty cool. As far as the wastegates and how to control them, that's another thing. I got one of my boost governors. I brought it out with me, so I have that as a source. But the whole point of the boost governor is that if you set it to 35 pounds, it's going to be completely closed at 34 and fully open at 36. On compounds, I don't think you really want that. I think you want to kind of like fade control, because with that, the small turbo would try to do everything, and all of a sudden, bam, big turbo, come help me. Whereas with if you have a more gradual opening, like if I were just to adjust the wastegate actuator just by threading out the rod, then it'd be the HX35 would be able to slowly give over control to the big turbo, which should help be a little more smooth and seamless. So that way it's not like a big power surge or something. Well, guys, there you go. Hopefully that made sense. I'm sure some of it did not make sense. That's fine. We'll hopefully do a second video putting the turbos on the truck. I'll hopefully have a buddy kind of working the camera a little bit, and then you guys kind of get to see how it goes together. I think I'll answer a lot of questions, and then we'll do a 3rd video on driving to see what our thoughts are. If you have any questions that I haven't answered in this video, go ahead and put them in the comments. I do try to answer the comments. I know it's been a while since I've been on YouTube or did anything like post any videos on YouTube, but I still I get the email notifications when somebody comments on a video, so I still try to get you taken care of. I don't do it the best all the time, but give it what I got. So that being said, I also got a new Instagram. I actually got it a year and a half ago, whatever it was. But regardless, it's Cummins Works on Instagram. I don't know if I'm going to end up using it. I was originally going to use it as a kind of with the YouTube channel. I don't know where the YouTube channel is going to go. If it's going to continue to kind of grow and stuff or whatnot. Right now, at the moment, I really don't have time to mess with it. But I can see doing fun stuff in it too. So that being said, I can post pictures every once in a while on Instagram, hey, what we're working on. I may or may not have said this, but I did end up moving, and I got a job out here, so working with these trucks quite often, so you might see some pretty cool stuff going on. Anyway, you guys peace out. I really enjoy you guys. Appreciate you sticking with us this long, and take care.